Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, thanks for watching. Well, March and April are big scam months, what to look for, but first, two of the state's leading reporters weigh in on the most important stories of the week. And what can you say about the coronavirus? We'll get to that and more after these words.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Well, Marc Levy from the Associated Press and Angela Couloumbis from the Philadelphia Inquirer join me, as often is the case. Now, I want to hold this up. This is called hand sanitizer. We wiped the set off before they got here, including the microphones and the earpieces. And I'm holding this up just to know you. We're doing everything here we're supposed to do. Hey, both of you, welcome. Well, I'm going to start with you, Marc. Now, as we do this show, obviously when people see it all over the state, on WGAL, there'll be big changes, but what's generally going on with Governor Wolf in the state? I'll let you weigh in on that. We've got lots of news about President Trump. About every 30 minutes he's on air, explaining with the team headed by the Vice President Pence, and lots of news. Fill us in on what Governor Wolf and the administration is doing to combat the coronavirus.
Well, I mean, things are changing by the hour, really. The state is trying to get testing ramped up. Not everyone who wants to be tested is getting tested. There are criteria, but every day there are more people testing positive. Major colleges and universities, Pitt, Penn State, Penn, Temple, are basically sending kids home in some cases for the semester and saying all classes are migrating online. The Allentown School District closed for 2 days, so there are major things happening, and it's just getting bigger. Montgomery County advised all public events should be canceled. Philadelphia is saying that no one should attend events with more than 5,000 people at them.
More than 5,000, I would say about 200, but go ahead.
Yeah, and that could change too in the coming days, but we don't know where this is going, but the Department of Health continually says that it's going to get worse. There's going to be more cases.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, despite everything that's being done, and it's going to have a huge effect on the economy. I don't think there's any, look at the stock market, and there's no doubt about it. Eventually, the concern I have is, do you think that eventually schools, the public and private schools, I'm talking about elementary and you can't rule out that they would truncate their classes or postpone them or do something?
It's hard to know, because what has been happening is when there is an issue that somebody has come into contact with somebody who maybe has tested positive, that is when more precautionary steps have taken. What we have seen in the Capitol, though, is that business has occurred as usual there, and the legislature, which is slated to come in next week, is...
Are they still coming in?
They're still coming in as of right now. That could change. We'll see. The governor has advised state workers to avoid out-of-state travel or the country travel if necessary, but everything so far is kind of going as normal, at a normal pace, but it's a fluid situation.
The testing kit problem's pretty serious, I take it. Now, obviously they're providing these testing kits in areas where there's incidences of the appearance of the virus, but that seems to me, however, to be a big concern that's not being alleviated. What's your report?
Well, one of the things is that right now testing is limited to certain criteria. So if you feel sick, you may not necessarily get tested. They're going to want to know about your travel history. They're going to want to know whether you've been in contact with someone who was tested positive. And you may not know any of that. You may not have traveled overseas, and so the result is they may tell you just to stay home. Right now, testing is ramping up. Private labs are getting underway. University academic centers are getting underway. But there's a lot that we don't know.
Before we run to a break, one of the concerns as a college professor that I have is these students go home for what we'll call spring break, or go, take the week or two off that they're getting and that they're traveling. And that's
Yeah.
I mean, I understand why it's being done, but that's a little scary.
Yeah, I mean, I think people have been advised if there's now new terminology, the social distancing, keeping
yeah.
yourself safe and
Yep.
trying to limit unnecessary movements.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can't, it's very difficult to contain. And as a result, I think there's been less talk of containment at this stage in the game, and more taking personal responsibility for your movements.
All right. Well, we're going to take up an important topic, and it has to do with state lawmakers, their expenses. Are they hiding them from the public? They've not made much of them, I should say, or a good bit of them public. And Angela Couloumbis and other reporters have been looking into that, and we'll get to that after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association and Partners for Public Education, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
We're back with Marc Levy from the Associated Press and Angela Couloumbis with the Philadelphia Inquirer. All right, Angela, there's been a raft of stories about lawmakers who have expenses. You know, they do travel, they do do their business, and they have expenses, but they haven't been, I'll put it this way, forthright about those expenses, hiding much of the details, and we're talking about millions.
Right.
Take it.
So this has been a project that we've been working on with the caucus and LNP, and it started out as a very simple thing. We wanted to document the expenditures of the nation's largest full-time legislature.
Right.
We put in various public records requests and received documents back for expenses that had redacted a lot of information about the why they were spending the money. The legislature in both houses, although this has changed now, in both chambers claimed that they have a special legislative privilege that is bestowed on them by the state constitution. The privilege being that they should be allowed to speak and debate freely, and if certain details about their movements and by extension their expenditures are made public, that could somehow inhibit the freedom of their speech and debate.
Let me stop you for a minute. They're using taxpayer dollars to travel and for whatever other aspects of the expenses. Now, normally that's fine. I mean, if they're doing legitimate business. Right. So why would they not be more forthcoming? I mean, that's something I don't understand.
I don't quite understand it either, but I think they think if the public knows who they've met with, that could somehow shed light on their deliberations that led up to a vote or led up to some sort of policy change, and that they claim is protected under the law.
And is that where it stands?
That is where it stands, although the House of Representatives has reversed course and is now unredacting their expense documents. The Senate has not.
All right, Mark, who knows whether the Pennsylvania presidential primary, April 28th is going to be relevant. We got a two-person race going on. Bernie, looks like Joe Biden has a substantial delegate lead. As we chat right now, it's about 150, 160 delegates. They're still not fully, I'll say, been counted because some states don't do it very quickly. So where does Pennsylvania stand on this? Are we irrelevant again?
Yeah, look, I mean, right now it's Joe Biden's race to lose. Pennsylvania is about 6 weeks away from its primary, and there's still major states yet to go before. I mean, Florida, Illinois, Arizona. So, Joe Biden's resurgence was good news for a lot of Democrats in Pennsylvania. You have a lot of leading Democrats here who are backing him and went in early for him. Former Governor Ed Rendell, U.S. Senator Bob Casey, most of the state's members of Congress are all behind Biden. because they see him as the best chance to win Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And Democrats, Pennsylvania is a must-win state for
Absolutely.
Democrats.
So here's the irony. We're a must-win state in the fall, and we're irrelevant in the nomination process, right?
Right.
Is that right? Well, so the fact of the matter is that given Biden's roots in Scranton, and he 36 years in the Senate, what did he do? He traveled extensively throughout the state. He was. So does this surprise you that many Pennsylvania politicians, Democrats, have come on board? It doesn't seem to shock me.
No, not at all. And I think some of those very same politicians, it's worth noting, have also advocated over the years for moving Pennsylvania's primary up by several weeks, if not a full month or more, to make the state more relevant in choosing the nominee, because it is such a relevant state when in November, when the final contest is held.
Yeah, we would go from the fourth week in April, according to the legislation, which passed the Senate and the House, to the third week in March. So where does that stand? You get the final word on this. Where does this stand?
Well, that legislation is in the House, and we'll see. I mean, I know there's been efforts to change it in the past, and that's gone nowhere. And perhaps if Pennsylvanians were in the middle of a big primary and a big general election, they'd be sick of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I want to thank both of you for coming in. It's a great update. All right. March and April, big scam months. We're going to look into it. Let's get to it.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the CrossState Credit Union Association. Credit unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, go to ibelong.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, representing the faculty and coaches who are devoted to providing quality public higher education for Pennsylvania's college students.
Well, here we go. Consumer scams peak in March and April. We're going to chat about that. Mike Wishnow is the Senior Vice President at CrossState Credit Union Association, joins me. He's a Senior VP there. And Nicola Foggie. Boy, you get this all the time, don't you?
Yes, I do.
But I like it. Nicola Foggie, Chief Regulatory Officer at CrossState Credit Union Association, joins me. All right, Mike, well, I'm going to start with you. We're going to go through some of the big scams that people should watch for. Internet merchandise scams. Does that mean they're trying to sell me something?
You got it.
Sell our audience?
You got it, absolutely.
Our friends out there?
Yeah, I guess we should probably start by saying, as soon as people start getting income tax checks, scams start to heat up, right?
Oh,
because
yeah.
people have money in their pocket.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about the internet merchandise scam, frankly, if you see something on the internet that's way, way below what it should be, like way below Amazon or way below Target or Walmart, it's probably not true. Yeah. That's what they say, right?
Yeah.
If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
I got a $50,000 check in the mail. And it had a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm thinking, oh, yeah, ripped it up and threw it away right away. Somebody's going to give me 50 grand.
Exactly.
All right, phishing, spoofing, take it.
Phishing and spoofing is when you get that very legitimate email coming to your inbox. It might even appear to be from a colleague or someone higher up in the organization or a government entity. And so your first reaction is, I need to act. Well, before you click, you need to take a closer look at that email, the content of the email and the email address, because it's likely some scammer trying to slip into your inbox and get you to download some malware so they can take over your system.
Right. All right, let's go to another one. Fake prizes, sweepstakes, and free gifts. I like free gifts.
Yeah, of course. Who doesn't? This one's as old as the hills, right?
Yeah.
It's a friend in Nigeria who tells you won the lottery. Chances are, if a windfall comes your way from somebody you don't know, it's a ripoff. Don't send them any money. Don't give them your bank account information. It's just be very cautious. And frankly, they prey on the most vulnerable. I mean, oftentimes they're elderly folks or folks that have been scammed elsewhere.
Well, here we go. Fake check scams. I should have held my comments up for a few minutes.
Well, you teed me up for that.
I got a check in the mail, and I tore it right up, but go ahead, take it.
And I was going to say, you teed me right up for that, Terry. It's when you get a check in the mail, and oftentimes you'll receive a phone call right after that, and someone, a scammer or fraudster, is trying to convince you to deposit that check into your local bank or credit union and share the funds with them or pay a fee to keep some of the funds. And so you did the exact right thing. Just tear that thing up, shred it, hang up on that collar, block them on your caller ID.
Yeah, and the other thing, Nicola, a lot of times they'll say, well, here's a check for $1,000. Right. You can keep half of it. Right. Send me a gift card for $500.
That's right.
And you send the gift card, and the gift card's
gone. Who would do that? You wouldn't get me to do that.
You would be amazed who would do that.
Oh, no. You're absolutely right. All right, here's the next one, number 5. Advance fee loans credit arrangers. This is a little complicated.
Sure. Let's start with, if you need credit and you need a loan, if it's coming to you and they say you have to pay in advance in order to get that loan, it's probably a scam.
Yeah.
When I talk about any kind of loans, and a lot of our credit unions will say that, if you don't know who the lender is and they come to you, chances are it's not the best deal out there anyway.
Yeah.
And it might, in fact, be a scam.
Yeah, I'll tell you, what I do is when I'm dealing with people, I want to go to the company itself and I want to call them and make sure everything is legitimate. I don't want to get something in the mail or the other thing is the telephone, the scammers on the phones, the robocalls, that, you want to get your electric bill reduced, your heating bill reduced, you want a free credit card, or, you don't have to, the interest is virtually zero. Yeah. That's also very common.
And a lot of times on that phone call, it'll say ABC Electric Company.
There you go.
Right. They know how to spoof it.
All right, we're going to run to a break. Here's one that we should all be careful about. Romance scams, sweetheart swindles. We'll get to that.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care.
Well, we're talking about scams and more scams. March and April are big scam months, and we're talking with the folks from the CrossState Credit Union Association. All right, romance scams, sweetheart swindles. I must tell you, I've never heard of these, but going on.
Well, this is an age-old one. This is the setup. They used to happen in person, but now they happen online. So say you joined an online website for
like a dating service
or an online social forum, and you meet someone in the chat or you meet someone on the forum, and you start to have those conversations in that particular platform with an individual you get close to. Maybe you think you're starting a romance, and then all of a sudden they have an emergency that they need money, and there's always a good reason why they don't have the money themselves readily, but they'd like to borrow the money from you.
Yeah, but there are organizations, I don't do this, I'm a married guy, so I don't bother with this, but there are, I understand, organizations that do this that you can contact yourself if you want to participate. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So they're not scamming that way because...
No, what normally happens is the scammer joins the network. It's not the network that's scamming you.
Yeah, right.
The scammer joins the network.
Right.
And then oftentimes what they'll do is they'll strike up a relationship and say, Well, let's take it offline.
Right.
Give me your email.
Right.
Give me, let's
Oh,
text each other. And now the network that's trying to police this kind of activity is no longer watching the conversation, and now they're trying to get money out of you.
So here's what we suggest. We suggest that you don't then take it offline from that platform or use that messaging system, because there are folks that monitor the messages and would reach out if they believe you're being scammed.
Wow. All right. Recovery refund scams. Michael.
Yeah, this is great. This one is classic because what they're doing is they're scamming people that have already been scammed. They pick up the phone, they have a list, they share with each other folks that are vulnerable and folks that have been scammed, and they call you up and they say, hey, we understand you've been scammed. We can help you get that money back. All you have to do is send us $200.
Oh, so you get scammed, and then the people who are supposed to help you want money to do the scam.
Exactly, exactly. And they know they have somebody who's been scammed once. It's probably a better target.
All right, we'll go to the next one. Computer equipment software. I don't know. I don't do any of that. That's why we have folks at the college who are experts in it. Go ahead.
This is also called the tech support scam. So a caller may claim to be a well-known support software company, and they're calling you or emailing you saying that a virus has gotten onto your computer. So if you just trust me and give me access to your computer or your information so I can log in and help you clean up that virus, well, or they actually try to get you to buy their very expensive software cleanup. So that's what that is about. And so
the offers usually come in an unsolicited way. Is that right?
Correct.
You don't
That's
solicit
correct.
them. All right. Well, a lot of people work for companies or work in a situation where they can get that help right on site, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of people don't. That's the other thing. All right, now we're talking more about money. Here's another. We're up to the 9th one, believe it or not. Investment-related scams. Go ahead.
Well, it's the same as the merchandise scam. If an investment sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And frankly, whenever you're talking about managing your money, go to a trusted source. It can be your credit union, it can be your bank, it can be a broker that you've worked with. But if somebody's coming to you unsolicited to try and sell you investments, that should be a red flag right away.
But again, I'm back to this argument that if you're interested, then go find your own. I mean, go find a source that's already there, that, a company that does, whether it's Bitcoin or real estate or whatever it is, instead of, once you're solicited, that anytime I get solicited, the red flag goes up, and I'm thinking you can't make this up.
As it should.
All right, 1 minute left. We'll go to this. Family, friend, imposter. Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, and this is the one with no humor at all. There's nothing dearer to us than our loved ones and our family friends. But you get a call from a fraudster, a scammer, and they're saying that your loved one is in trouble and send money quick. Well, who wouldn't just whip out their credit card? So think twice when you get in that call.
All right, report the scam. There's a whole bunch of places to do it quickly.
Yeah, Attorney General's office here in Pennsylvania or in New Jersey, if you're in New Jersey. Federal Trade Commission, if it's mail, Postal Service,
all right,
etc.
we got to run. Great update. Thanks for doing this. All right, we'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And as always, stay well.